ready to find some stuff. They're going to try to short circuit my connection, but we're going to stick to it for the moment. Does anybody know what this is? Yeah, this is a vine that's growing in with my flooring. Purple stem. 3 leaves. For those who don't know and are allergic, you probably don't want to come around here until I kill that. What am I looking at? Oh my goodness. If the connection holds, look. Beadboard from the 1800s. That's a 5-inch version. That's a batch. Everything's batched on the houses it was taken out of. 1870s, little narrower cut with that beautiful blue paint underneath the thick stuff that comes off real easy. That's milk paint. Milk paint is what gives it that zebra look. Okay? And this is just stacks and stacks and stacks. All saved away for the day the babies would come. How many of you don't understand? Flooring, for example. This was milled back in a time when these trees, when they were cut, were 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old, by our ancestors, 1834 to 1935, when they started having to pay them for cash, not tokens stamped out on their local machine at the local lumber yard, all over Texas. So they passed legislation in Texas at the government level, said you have to pay them with cash, kind of like minimum wage. You got to pay them with something they can spend somewhere other than in the company store or in the company houses. And then go to school other than a company school. In those days, the lumber companies were kings. Cameron, Littlefield, names that you know as names on buildings. That's how they got to be there. They were rich, lumber rich. And then we made that law and they couldn't charge anymore, so they went out west in the Sawdust Empire of Texas, a real good book. Well, that book shows you that at one time, these trees, 135 foot tall, so tight that there was nothing growing beneath them. Nothing, because it was all shade. And so the pine needles on a longleaf pine tree are literally a foot long. And here's a board, for example. Now this board, this is called single beaded, 1 bead on the edge, single beaded bead board. It's typically a 1/2 inch, could be smaller, narrower, and it could be thicker if it's going to be used for structural. In some cases, it really is. It's used as a structural member. In other words, whoops, let's get this back on. Structural means that you can use it as a wall and it'll hold weight. And that's when you get into the thicker stuff. And I've got some of that where it's beaded on both sides. It's thick. It's like an inch and a quarter thick. And I have a stairwell in the El Campo video, Song of Salvage. You see us tear down a house in 7 minutes. Took 7 days. And 5 women over 49 years old. Excuse me, ladies. And 5 kids. 3 women. We took that house down in 7 days, and I finished it off on the 8th day. But the last thing standing was a wall, literally made out of beadboard. And the beadboard was really thick, and the whole stairwell went up that wall, and there was a landing at the top. And we took pictures of all the people that participated in the seminar and learned how to do that. Now, there's all kinds of beadboard, by the way. I'll point out a couple more. But anyway, that seminar is really good, and we still have some of the 1x12s, and you can see us take it down in music. The music is a Johnny Cash tune with the Song of Salvage, a poem I wrote years ago. And that's a really good thing. There's also seminars on how to tear everything down and be able to use it again. Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is a shiplap edge. So one board will lay over the other one and they'll end up laying flat. Now, shiplap edge is great for walls, and you typically see it like that. The tongue and groove, which is what you see here, that allows the board to go ahead and float and not, if one board holds the next board up on that other lip. Now, most flooring is tongue and groove. Now, the old stuff where it's got this beautiful paint on it, you get that zebra effect. Okay, and that's what I like to use on the floors. Just sand it lightly and then oil it down with hemp oil. That doesn't require any additives. Now there's 5-inch flooring, and there's 3-inch, and there's 4-inch, which is made for just a little while. And how did that happen? Why did they make 5-inch beadboard? Well, back then they had so many trees. Back over here. So many trees, no knots. You could make all that stuff and mill it without any trouble. That's my dog trying to find possums or cats. Anyway, a lot of these boards you see here, those are like 16 to 20 foot long. You don't find this stuff anymore. Nobody stocks this stuff anymore. So to get out of here, oh, that stuff's got to go. Whoa. It's only me. So it takes a while to get these kind of orders out. Wonder why. So from 5-inch, 6-inch, about the widest you see in a tongue and groove, all that stacked up here waiting. Some of these are porch boards. Now porch boards you'll see is really thick, and has a lot of top on it. That's not a regular floorboard. That goes on your porch. Typically, that's cypress. And cypress lasts for anything. Longleaf pine is the second best wood for weather besides cypress. The bugs won't eat longleaf pine. There's too much tannin, and not to mention it only grew, as you can see on some of these end cuts, it only grew a 1/16 of an inch, and not even that, a year in diameter on each side of the tree. And that's all hard tissue, and the bugs can't get in there. Now they can get in the softer tissue, which you can see like this has wider gaps. Now that wood was possibly a loblolly tree as opposed to longleaf pine, because loblolly grew faster. And so you can see that difference between that, and you can see it between another one where you can count those lines how tight they are. That hard stuff, termites can't eat that. So this stuff goes into places like out west where the termites eat everything else. They won't touch this. If it doesn't get wet, they can't break it down. The mandibles aren't strong enough to eat that wood. So if it gets wet, you'll see them eat into it and then back on out and go eat something soft like the paper off your sheetrock. Or all those new studs you bought and all that new wood you bought. There's just a bunch of cellulose and soft tissue with about 4 of those lines on a whole board. You can see, look at that. See how many lines? Okay, and look at the beautiful grain. That's the bottom of the boards I'm showing you. But it gives you an idea of what you have on the backside. So if you want to put that up and make that your wall, you can do that. And you can mix it. That's another thing most people don't know. You could go through there and take the colors and mix them, but you can also take a wider one and mix it with the narrow ones if they're the same width, and you got 2 sizes. And there's a 4-inch version. I may have one in here. And that's rare. A 4-inch version was only done for a short time because as they were running out of knotty trees, they went from 5 to 4 to make flooring, and in those days it's called clear. And structural grade lumber, like we're going to pull out of the other building over there in Gonzales. Structural grade lumber means it didn't have a knot in it as big as my thumbnail, and the whole board, a 2 by 8 by 20 foot long, and the grain had to be at least 10 to 15 growth lines per inch. What's that mean? That means they're so tight you can't count them. That one you can count. And some of these you can't even count it, and that's when you get into what's called structural grade. And that means you put a nail in there, you better hope you're going to have to never pull it out. Or just cut it off. It ain't coming out. So, that's your lesson today on beadboard. If you have questions, please shoot an email to me. But also, here's the point. I'll get to the end of this. Baby villages, building tiny baby houses. That's my new gig. I've been given an upgrade, a promotion. Yeah. See, my son passed away a long time ago, so I'm not going to have grandbabies. So I've been appointed in charge of helping other grandbabies have a place to live. And part of that job means getting some villages ready, because there's 1 million of them coming down the pipes, literally. Down the tunnels, down the ovarian lifelines. Whether you realize it or not, there's a legion of light showing up. It's how those of us who came to prepare, and to do what needs to be done to give them a free life. One full of challenges in their brain and their body that make them healthy and strong later. We need people to do that. Elders in the fourth turning that have learned, maybe by being a parent, that we could do better. Maybe by looking at our society and going, we could do better. But if we are, we're going to have to pull them out of our society and teach them, and then let them go back and maybe grow a better society. Because frankly, this society's got some issues. So my goal, my job, my new assignment is tinybabyhouses.com. Part of the reason is, if you watch, I'm censored, I'm blacklisted, I'm blackballed, I'm throttled, I'm anything you want, shadow banned. Yeah, I'm poster child. Because a long time before this, I came here to prepare. And some of those people out there knew I wasn't crazy, understood. When I leave Salvage, Texas after 15 years, I got a story to tell. It's not a little story. It's a quantum story. It's a way you go ahead and help ignite, inspire, create. God brought us here to use our imagination to create solutions for the future. In doing so, he said, honor thy vessel, and understand this. Time is of the essence. We've exited the period known as Pisces. We've entered the Aquarian age. All the planets parked in their house for a day and moved on down the road. And with that, we opened the gates. And help is arriving. The cavalry is not the politicians going to be elected next, kids. It's these babies. So please, don't hand them over to the bad guys, the pedophiles, the traffickers. Don't you dare. Step up. Quit being that silent majority. Speak up a little bit and say, hey, I'll do this. I'll contribute quietly on the side on my ranch. I'll set aside a little bit of acreage. I'll help some little ladies get away and save their babies. And if they want to leave and they want to go chase men, let us take care of your babies. Sign them over to us. Let us be guardians. With that thought, please consider helping tinybabyhouses.com. Talk to y'all later.